So you might be looking at the Spirit Airlines closure or collapse and wondering if it has anything to do with the food delivery economy. The answer is, what if I told you? Not really. Not much at all. There's a tiny bit of overlap, and I will go through that as we go along here. But it's a very modest overlap, and it's not a very notable one. But if you're out here doing this, you're kind of paying attention, and it's a small amount. But the reason why Spirit collapsed is because, of course, they were losing money hand over fist. And I believe the reason why they were losing money hand over fist is that in addition to being an ultra low fare carrier, they were also a heavily dishonest one. Other companies will charge you to check in bags. Spirit charges you to carry on bags. And they're not really upfront about it, but you are charged $25 to even carry on a bag. And if you don't pay for it in advance, you're charged $50. And they say, well, if a bag fits under a seat, we'll allow for personal items carry on. But here's the trick. What they won't tell you when you book that ticket is, or wouldn't tell you when you book that ticket was, there's a size limitation on what they deem to be able to fit underneath the seat. Even if it really can't fit underneath the seat, their terminology for their definition of what fits under a seat is much smaller than what actually fits under a seat. Deception. They lie to you. The other thing that they do is that it's a base fare, when it comes up, if you book through a travel website and not through them directly, they advertise their basic no add-ons fare, which basically allows you to walk on the plane with nothing other than a small little itty bitty, what amounts to a condiments bag. And so where we're going with this is they were not open and honest up front. And so whereas with the DoorDash and with Uber Eats, you see the fees up front. Now whether you pay attention to that screen and look at them, but I had ordered in the past. I really don't order with them anymore. But you do. They are listed. They don't lie to you about that. And so you know what you're paying for. And to expand upon that, DoorDash and Uber Eats have never advertised themselves as ultra cheap in any way, shape, or form. They're selling convenience, and they are not ashamed to admit it. They will never tell you that they're a cheap option. In fact, you should know that they're not a cheap option. You should know that it's the most expensive way to get food that there is in America. But here's the overlap, okay? When DoorDash and Uber Eats started and shipped, and a lot of the other grocery delivery companies, by the way, are also included on this, they accept food stamps or EBT cards. So they did intentionally tap into that market, but it's a very small fraction of what you will encounter as a driver. My market is Forest Lake, Minnesota. And in Forest Lake, Minnesota, there is one public housing complex on the southern fringe of town. And because these people are getting their food delivered to them, paid for by government aid, they put their EBT card numbers in, and what happens is that fee doesn't come out of their pocket, it comes out of the government program's pocket. So they're not paying for this at all. And therefore, tips are usually zero. Once again, no tip, no trip. I haven't accepted one of these in years. So they do market to that particular component, but it's a very small sliver of the offers that are provided. If I see that this building is featured on an order, it's an automatic decline. Partially also because some of these customers, and the ones I have had in the past, tend to be some of the most entitled ones out there. They act like some of these Spirit customers in airports that you see on YouTube getting into fistfights. It's the same attitude. And so I did not like confronting them at all. I did not like making their deliveries. And the worst part is that building is large enough to where cell phone reception is questionable. And it makes drop-offs very difficult, and you can get warnings on your account and eventually get banned from the platform if you have enough of those. So I refuse those deliveries for that reason. But other than that, any connection between the Spirit collapse and Uber Eats / DoorDash is none. So that's my spiel for this one, and I will see you on the next episode as I continue to pile these up during my vacation time. Thank you very much, folks, and peace out, homies.